So Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars are apparently going all in on the most extreme and unexpected characters you've ever seen. And this is because these characters will never be used in the future, so instead of, never using them, why not just toss them into these multiverse films, have fun with it, and then there you go. Hey, you got, I don't know, the Inhumans, I guess. Marvel has a lot of characters on their rosters. Some of these characters are very obscure, while other ones are either fan favorites and have a small following, or are just characters that you figure they can never bring into live action for one reason or another, maybe due to what project they're doing or whatever else. The reason I mentioned the Inhumans earlier, right in the intro clip, is because the Inhumans are among these. They're a little bit more known than the most obscure characters out there, but still, they're nothing tremendously big. And of course, we got Black Bolt in the MCU, and in the multiverse, we got the Inhumans TV series. It is what it is. They're sort of a one-off, and I think most people expect that we'll never see them again, more than likely. Or if we see them, it'll be in a small capacity in one of the next two films, Doomsday or Secret Wars. Enter Cryptic 4K Qual, who recently reported that one of the elements we're going to see of the next two Avengers films is introducing heroes and villains which have never been seen on screen before and will never be seen again. Now again, who these are, who could be among them? I mean, look at the pantheon of characters Marvel has at their disposal. You could literally pick out anybody that's obscure and they might fit that bill, right? Some characters, maybe like the Living Tribunal, could show up. I would assume they've been trying to get the Tribunal in live action since Infinity War, and I know that for a fact. And it just never happened. The Inhumans to me would make sense again, especially playing off of what happens in Multiverse of Madness. If you bring in some of the other Inhumans, like Medusa maybe Karnak or somebody. You could use Eldrak, because, I mean, that opens you up to a whole multiverse plethora of insanity and possibilities. For those that aren't aware, Eldrak is a giant door. Yes, that he's a inhuman door that can transport you through time, space, and the multiverse. Very cool character. You just gotta step into his giant mouth. Yeah, that sounds appealing, right? I know. Anyways, I'm thinking characters like that per this report, because that would just make sense to me. And there's actually a couple quotes here I want to bring into this and talk about this, because recently Anthony Russo talked about doing Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, and here's what he said, and I quote, "Well, we always create our own universe of the story, so we use the comics as a loose inspiration. But I grew up with the original run. That's something that got me into Marvel comic books. The Hickman run is also fantastic, and they're very different from each other in a lot of ways. So we'll draw inspirations from both." And then he adds, "In terms of what we're drawing on for our storytelling, we take the comprehensive view of the MCU. So without getting into anything more specific than that, this is the universe where we're telling a story within. You can read into that what you would like." End quote. So people are specifically focusing on the fact that he mentions the different Secret Wars there, and looking at the bigger MCU and looking at all the characters in Secret Wars and wondering who could these off characters be. And I think it's pretty safe to say a character like the Beyonder is probably a one-off character, like where else are you going to use him if not in Secret Wars? And that's really it. Also, how about a character like Beta Ray Bill? They clearly don't want to do anything with him, so why not toss him in there? To me, he feels like a perfect fit. Also, how about a character like Kazar, for example? Kazar is a character that I'm a fan of, but is anybody else? And yes, there was rumors by prolific insiders that Kazar would be featured in Thunderbolts. Well, we know how that played out. It's also been rumored we could be seeing the Council of Reeds and like permutations of Doom and different versions of him, and that the Council might be played by different actors that played Reed Richards in live action. So, there's a good amount of them out there, surprisingly. So, bringing all of them in would make sense to me. Again, there's a lot, but the one that sticks out to me the most is Tom Cruise's Iron Man. So, as most of you, I think, know, Tom Cruise's Iron Man goes all the way back to Iron Man 1 in Phase 1. Before Robert Downey Jr., Marvel Studios was looking to get a big-name actor just to get eyes on the project and hopefully get more money and backing and partnerships. And at the time, much like he has been for the last 40 years, Tom Cruise was a big deal in Hollywood, and he did show interest. So they wanted him. They obviously went with Robert Downey Jr., and the rest is history. But it's been rumored that he's had conversations with Marvel and that they want him to play Iron Man. Now, if you're going to bring him in, such an expensive star, it's going to cost a lot, and you finally want to do it anywhere, do it in the film that you know is going to make close to 2.5 to 3 billion, and spend the money, and then you got the character, you got the toys, you got the hype, it would work. So, to me, it feels like that's the obvious choice. A one-off character, superior Iron Man, played by Tom Cruise, just makes sense. And who knows who else? There's at least another 10 I've seen people toss out there saying scoopers are hinting at them, but the point here is that I do trust this report to a degree. I do think that we're going to get unexpected castings that are wow, I never expected that. And it's because you get it here and you're never getting it again. I really wouldn't be surprised if this is a final hurrah for Tobey Maguire, for Andrew Garfield, maybe even bringing in Tom Hardy's Venom. I could see that playing into this because that could work. It's another unexpected, one time only. It's the multiverse films, everything big at once, and then it's over. So whatever you toss in, the consequences of keeping it in aren't there. They could even toss in Jared Leto's Morbius, and it just gets lost in the shuffle, and it's oh, we're only doing it this once. And we know Disney loves Jared Leto, so who knows, who knows? So yeah, who do you guys think will be some of these mystery characters that are apparently set to make a one-off debut? Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will, and if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.